Alright, what is good, ladies and gentlemen? It is the Mass Ranker back again with another ranking, and tonight we are doing a ranking for the Hotel Transylvania movies. Yeah, we're doing a ranking for the films, and no further introduction really other than that, so let us just begin. Starting off with the, I should have done this in order, but I get here I'll put these in order. It's probably better to talk about the films in the order that they release. So, starting off with the first film, Hotel Transylvania, I would say that this is an A-tier film. We are doing this, by the way, side style, overall context. So if I say that the movie is S-tier, it means that it is an S-tier film. So, not just within the franchise. So, Hotel Transylvania, the first one, I think that this is an A-tier movie. I thought that it works very well. It introduces all these fun characters that very entertaining. Frank, Wayne, Murray, Griffin, Drac, Mavis, Johnny, they're all great fun characters to watch. I think that the themes of the film are good about not being racist, I guess. So the setting of Hotel Transylvania is the film where we actually see the most of the hotel. Every film after this, we kind of don't really see the hotel other than maybe the beginning and some of the end, but I think that, so this is the only film that actually really takes place in the hotel. The plot of it's like a standard Romeo-Juliet plot between Mavis and Johnny. So it doesn't really get too deep with the romance, but I think it still services the film well. And Drac as a character is very good, and he feels very sympathetic. Where it's like you he did go through a lot with his wife ended up dying and to raise Mavis on his own, and he does blame humans for the death of his wife. And then you even have Johnny trying to console him, saying yeah, but this is don't worry, Drac, this is the 21st century, you guys can come out of hiding and stuff. And he's like, you really think everyone would accept us? And then Johnny says no, not really. So I think that it is really good where it's he does just truly is motivated by just protecting Mavis, and not just Mavis, but also the hotel. He has been through a lot, so he just wants to keep people safe, but he goes about it, he thinks that it is better to lie and protect the people that he loves instead of just telling them the truth and possibly risking their safety. So, but by the end of the film, he does realize that he is wrong. I think that the final, the climax of the film, where it's he goes to, he flies up to the plane in order to get Johnny to return. I think that is great. So overall, it is just a wonderful movie. Not an S-tier film. I do think that it still has, it's not just, even if a film doesn't have problems, it doesn't make it an S-tier film. It doesn't really have too many problems, but it's just still not an S-tier film, I'd say, but it's still definitely an A-tier film. Moving on, we have the second film, Hotel Transylvania 2, and I would probably give this, I would say not B tier, but C tier. I think between B and C tier, probably harsh and just give it C tier. I think that it is still entertaining. I do think that the big problem with this one is that just the stakes are so low. In the first film, it's the stakes are it's Mavis and Johnny being together, which I think is pretty high stakes. I think love is much more higher stakes than just the worst case scenario. If just everything went wrong with this film, it would be I guess towards the end it's Bella maybe I don't know, harming Dennis or whatever. But realistically, it's the worst. The main thing that could happen, that's that bad, would just be Dennis moving to California, and then Drac would still be able to visit him and stuff. So it felt like the stakes of this film were really low and stuff. You also don't see the hotel at all, really. You have the road trip with Drac, Wayne, Frank, Murray, and Griffin, the crew, and then they take Dennis to try to get his fangs out, and that is the plot of the film. You do have good characters and stuff. You have the introduction of Vlad, voiced by Mel Brooks, who I think is great. You still see some more of Johnny and Mavis, even if they aren't as prominent as they were in the first film. They're still in this, and they're still their antics are good, I guess. But yeah, overall, I would say that it is definitely probably. I think probably the weakest film in the franchise, and it's just mainly because it feels it didn't have the best stakes for the story. So Dennis as a character also, he's not. I prefer him probably the best. He's probably the best in the third film, where he's just in the background. If there's a character that's I don't find that interesting. It's I do appreciate it when they just in the next film they'll just have them doing something on the side. In Stuart Little, I didn't really care for George in the first Stuart Little movie, but in the second movie they just had him. They gave him the role of just okay, you're just covering for Stuart, and I thought that was good. So in the third film, Dennis is he is just trying to hide Bob from his parents, and I thought that was just fine. So I didn't really care for Dennis too much. So I think that it's better what they did with him in the later films. So yeah, overall though, I'd say a C tier movie, and yeah. This is the third film, Hotel Transylvania 3. I would say that this is a B-tier movie. I think that it is enjoyable. It has some nice settings. It does have pretty good stakes, I'd say, as well. Van Helsing, as well as a good character. Erica, also a very good character. I'll do probably the character ranking after this video, so that will be, that'll get more of my thoughts on the characters. But I do think that that had a good villain. It had a good. This was actually the film that focused the most so on Dracula. Like in the first film, it was more so on Johnny and Mavis's relationship with Drac, kind of like in the middle of it. In the second film, it focused very much on Dennis. And in this film, you actually have the main focus is on Dracula and his learning to love again. At like even with having, they think like if you zing, then after you zing, you cannot. Zing again and you cannot find another love. So this film is like exploring the idea of like, no, it's fine, you can still like even if you lose someone you love, you are still capable of like finding love again. So I thought that it was good. I thought the settings were great. I thought that you know, the vacation plot of it was good, I thought. So overall it is not an A-tier film like the first film, but I do think that it worked well, and so I would say that it is a B-tier movie. And then finally, this is the fourth film, Hotel Transylvania, Transformania, and this is the only one that was not a rewatch for me. This was a first-time watch that I saw, and as I'm recording this, I watched this the same day that I'm recording this current video, so it is pretty fresh in my mind, I would say. And I would say that this is, I think it's better than the second film, and I think not as good as the third film though, and I'm wondering if I would put it in B tier or C tier, and I'm going to be harsh, and I'm just going to call it a C tier. It's like right in the middle, but I'm going to be harsh about this. I'm just going to call it a C tier film. I think that it works very well as a sequel. Like they pretty much bring back Erica, they bring back Van Helsing, and I guess like I might be giving it too much praise for like calling it a good sequel by just bringing back characters that were in the previous film. But I am aware, like in a lot of films you'll have like characters from previous, like for example some of the Dear Dollar franchise that I reviewed up to this point that are similar, like Ice Age. You have the Adventures of Buck Wild, and then in that film you just completely they establish, they like mention everything that happened in the previous films, but then they just don't go with any of the continuities. Like they forget a bunch of characters that should be there, but they just completely ignore that they were there. So in the and then in something like Despicable Me, you have Despicable Me, where it's like in the third film you have Drew, and in the fourth film he just completely shows up. So I do appreciate that in this film they do actually bring back characters from the last film, like Erica, which it makes sense that she'll be back, but Van Helsing, like they didn't have to bring back Van Helsing, but I do appreciate that they actually do bring back his character. Vlad isn't in this, which I do kind of wish that he was back, but you know, I can understand why they don't bring him back, because there's no reason really to be back. Like in the third film, he had a reason to be back because it was a family vacation, but in this film, there's no real you could say like the 125th anniversary of like the hotel, you could say that's the reason why he should be back, but I guess I can understand why he wouldn't be back for that. Like it makes more sense for him to be back for a family vacation, and I guess he didn't exactly need to be there for the hotel anniversary, so. But overall, I think that it works well as a sequel. I did have a lot of problems with the continuity. I think that let me rephrase that. I liked the continuity, and I think that is what makes it a good sequel. I do know there's also stuff like the Gremlin Airlines that they bring back. They bring back stuff that was established in the previous films, which I like. My problem is, number one, the power continuity, I think is so it's really bad, to be honest. They establish so many things that in previous films, and then in this film, here, I'll give some examples. Drac, he time freezes everyone, but then Mavis doesn't get time freeze, and she says like, Drac is like, oh yeah, you're a vampire, and I can't time freeze you because you're a vampire. In the same room, Dennis is there, but he is frozen. And in the second film, Drac freezes everyone in the room during when Johnny's family comes over for like dinner. I think it was the dinner before Dennis's party towards the end of the film. And in that scene, Drac freezes Mavis. So like you're breaking continuity, as well as in the first film, Drac freezes Quasimodo, but Quasimodo is still able to hear stuff, like because someone asked him, like, here, Griffin, I think he asked him, like, why are you picking your nose? And he says it's a long story. So it's established that you are able to hear stuff when you're frozen, but in the fourth film here, Drac freezes Johnny, and then he starts speaking to himself about like how he doesn't want to give Johnny ownership of the hotel, and so Johnny should really like hear that, because we've established in a previous film that you're able to hear people while you're frozen. So there's like a lot of stuff that another thing where it's like Drac is able to hypnotize Dennis, who is a vampire, and in the second film they literally say that if he cannot hypnotize the camp counselor because the camp counselor is a vampire. So there's just like a lot of stuff with the continuity that I don't think works. As well as I think the gimmick is fine. I do like the gimmick of like switching like the monsters, turning them into humans, and vice versa, turning humans into, well, they only do it for Johnny, but I think it's like a fine gimmick. I just did not like the use of the side characters in the film, like Murray, Griffin, Wayne, Frank. I don't think it worked with their characters. They just weren't interesting as humans. I think Drac was fine as a human. I just didn't like him, like all the suffering comedy that they did, where it's like all the jokes were just like, hey, look, Drac is in pain and like, he's suffering, so I didn't like that. Johnny feels pretty different as a character. As a monster, he feels like not the same character at all, really, but I did like how they focused in on. I thought it was out of character for Drac to like resent Johnny so much in the film, because up until this point, like, there's no reason. I guess like maybe he's getting tired of Johnny's antics and stuff, but the whole first film was establishing that he's fine with Johnny, and then in the second film he works with Johnny. In the third film, it's like they don't really interact, and in this film it's like they want to go back to what they did with the first film, where it's like the whole first film was mainly focused on Drac and Johnny, but also Mavis included. This film, it's like they kind of want to go back to that. It feels like where it's like they want it to be focused on Drac and Johnny. In this case, they have them go on an adventure, like a MacGuffin quest, in order to receive a crystal to turn them back into their regular forms and stuff. So, yeah, it felt like they were taking inspiration a lot from the first film. But yeah, so overall, I think that it's still. I just released my review. I still think it's like an above average film. I think that it does a lot of stuff well. It like the use of like Mavis, Erica, like they bring back Van Helsing. Like the continuity from like the previous films was good. The settings were pretty nice, I thought, and. I still think that there is good stuff about the film, and I do think probably it is better than the second film. It does feel like there are pretty high stakes and stuff. I do like the end where Johnny, like, he gets, like, he starts mutating and he realizes that, like, when he realized Drac never wanted him to run the hotel and stuff. I think that it is good when Johnny, like, actually like, goes crazy and stuff. So there is good stuff, good final act and stuff. So still, I would say like a good film, above average at the very least. So I do think it is better than the second film, which it felt like just the stakes were not high enough in the second film for it to be really. I still think the second film was good. There's no bad films in this franchise. I think even the second film, which at the lowest it's like a 5.5 still. So this film has no bad. This franchise has no bad films, but I do think that definitely some other films are better than others. So yeah, that is pretty much my ranking for the Hotel Transylvania movies, and so. Yeah, overall, I think I would give the franchise probably about a. I think I would go like a 7 out of 10. I think it is a pretty good franchise. I wouldn't call it very good, but it is definitely a pretty good franchise. So I would give the franchise a 7 out of 10. So yeah, that is pretty much all there is to it. So if you have any recommendations, any shows, movies, video game stories, anime, web series, anything that you want me to review or rank or compare rankings, it does not have to be media related, it could be anything. Leave it in the comments and I will maybe possibly check it out. But with that said, that is pretty much all there is to it. So let's leave it at that.